Good morning, everybody. If I seem like I'm in pain, I've got this, I don't know what it is, but I've got this pain in my back. Please pray for me. I'm in such pain right now. I didn't really sleep much last night. It hurts. I don't know what it is. I think I don't know what it is, but I'm still going to continue to serve Christ no matter what. I'm glad to be back. Thank you for praying for camp. We had such a great time. We saw several middle and elementary school students make decisions and put on Christ in baptism, and several more were going home to do so at their home churches. Pray for those who still went. Pray for the high school camps. There's some who are still considering decisions. Pray for the church that we can support and love these students. Pray. We are just grateful for the opportunities that God gives us to be able to serve no matter what's going on around us. So we're just grateful for this opportunity. So, seeking out these scriptures, looking up to the events leading to what's going on here in John. You might recall that Lazarus, Jesus' friend, the brother of Martha and Mary, fell ill. Jesus hesitated, and I wouldn't quite say hesitated. He delayed 2 days. He knew that Lazarus was going to die, and he said this was all so that they would see and believe. He gets there, and Mary is so beside herself, she doesn't even come to see Jesus. Martha comes and says, "If you had but come, my brother would live." But she also professed faith, knowing that even on the last day, Jesus would raise her brother up, still believing in him. And she gave the good confession. Jesus said to her in verse 25, and I'll quote, "I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me, even if he dies, will he live. Everyone who lives and believes in me will never die, ever." Do you believe this? And Martha, in her grief, still stated, "Yes, Lord," she told him. "I believe you are the Messiah, the Son of God who comes into the world." So we look at all these circumstances, and then Jesus goes to the grave, and even then Mary comes out, and she goes to Christ, and she is weeping, and he looks at them, and he sees, and she says, "Lord, if you'd been here, my brother wouldn't have died." And Jesus looks at her weeping, and sees the mourners weeping, and sees just whole circumstances, and he himself just being angry, wept, and he was angry at the tyranny of sin and death. And yet he wasn't done yet. Jesus gave them a sign, the sixth sign, to prove that he was the master of life and death. That those things he had been saying, that though he would give his life and be dead for 3 days, he would take it up again. He is saying these things, but he makes this quite definitive statement. Let's look at this. This is John 11, verse 38. Then Jesus, angry at himself again. Angry. You see that he's angry. This is the second time he's angry. He's looking at these weepers, and he's angry, so he weeps. He's angry again. He's angry at the tyranny that sin and death causes. That this is what our sin caused in us. It causes brokenness. It causes division. Now I'm going to say this. This is amazing. If you look at the final statements of Revelation, there is no temple. So there is no separation between God and man anymore. There is no night. There is only day. So there is no division between light and darkness anymore. It is only light. There is no sea. So there is no longer division between land and sea, or land and land, or continent and continent. There is no longer any division. Our sin causes us separation from one another, both emotionally, spiritually, and physically through death. Our sin causes us separation from God physically, mentally, emotionally, and through death. Christ was angry at what our sin had caused because our sin led to death. And so, Jesus, angry in himself again, came to the tomb. It was a cave and a stone was lying against it. "Remove the stone," Jesus said. Martha, the dead man's sister, told him, "Lord, he's already decaying. It's been 4 days." Literally, that means, "Lord, he stinks already." Jesus said to her, "Didn't I tell you that if you had believed, you would see the glory of God?" So they removed the stone. Then Jesus raised his eyes and said, "Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I know that you will always hear me, but because of the crowd standing here, I said this so that they may believe you sent me." After he said this, he shouted with a loud voice, "Lazarus, come out!" And the dead man came out, bound hand and foot with linen strips, and his face wrapped in cloth. And Jesus said to them, "Loose him and let him go." This is the gospel message for all of us. It seriously is that God is angry with the state we are in. God is angry at the state of his very good world. In the beginning, God had looked at all he had made before sin had ever tarnished it, and he called it all very good. And we caused a curse on the ground because of our sin. A curse in childbearing, a curse between us in our sin, a curse of separation in our sin. But God sent his Son, who lived a perfect, obedient life to his Father, but was nailed to a tree because of it. And nailed to that tree, he also nailed our sin. He took the punishment we deserve. He bore the wrath of his Father for the injustice we do. Thinking they had won, they buried him in a tomb. He was speaking of what would happen. In Lazarus was a living parable. Coming out of that tomb, Christ took care of that problem of death, because someday we too will rise again. As Jesus said to Martha, "I am the resurrection and the life. Anyone who believes in me will rise again on the last day." He is seated at the right hand of the Father, ascending into heaven, alive after 40 days, alive, coming out of that tomb. And someday he's coming back to make all things new, where there will be no more division and separation, no more death, no more sorrow, no more pain, no more separation between God and man and those we love. Division will be a thing of the past. Death will be no more. Sin will be impossible. We will grow and live in his presence forever. He walked out of the tomb. On that third day after he had been murdered, he rose again. Just as he raised Lazarus from the dead, he too rose from the dead. And all we need to do is follow him and be born again. This is the message of hope we have in the resurrection, not merely the sign of Lazarus, but the sign of the cross, the sign of the empty tomb. This is our hope. This is why we hold on when the whole world goes into disarray. This is why we don't fret or fear, because we know that the tomb is empty. We know that there is no hold of death upon us, that Christ Jesus is coming back again someday, that Jesus Christ will prevail. This is our hope. Christ has conquered death. He has overcome. He is the Lord and Master of it all. I'll pray for you that your hope is found in nothing else but Christ Jesus. Let me know what you think. I'd love to hear your opinion on what was said today. Any thoughts you may have, comment, send a video, whatever you may like to do. I would love to hear from you. God bless you. May he keep you in his victorious, righteous right hand. God bless.